Lions, welcome to yet another episode of Lions Den. Lions Den today is going to be a little bit different. And I said this in a message today, this week to you guys, because I want to start to change the trajectory of how we not only just connect on these calls, but how we can actually be aware of things that are happening in the world and really start to have those courageous conversations. I want to say for the Lions that are coming on here for the first time, welcome, Lions. We appreciate y'all for checking in and seeing what we're all about. And for the Lions in the room, the real Lions that have been here for many, many episodes that have continuously fueled their minds. I see you, Lou. I see you, Keyshawn. See you, JC, my guy. I see you, Steve Irwin, coming in from afar, actually. That's mad respect. But today is going to be a little bit different because the world that we live in is, of course, very, very interesting. Things are moving at such rapid paces. We can see this in the news. We can see this in our leaders. We can see this on a market scale. We can see this so much. Last week, we talked about that. Last week, we went into that, and I saw the feedback of what we spoke about last week really resonated well with people. We got to understand not only just where the markets are at, but really positioning ourselves correctly, understanding that state and that stage and the way that we can position ourselves correctly in the biggest wealth transfer in our lifetime. I'm telling you right now, it is the biggest wealth transfer. Something like this has not happened often, and it happens every so often. The last one I would say would be the dot-com bubble, a little bit of I would say 2014 when the surge happened. But other than that, right now with the AI movement, with crypto, of both spearheading this revolution of just currency as well as money flow, trillions of dollars moving, something to pay attention to, something to definitely pay attention to. So we're going to start to now change up the vibe, because it is what a world we can live in right now, where millionaires are being made overnight. Like, I'm talking to these little meme coins and some things that we're seeing, but today we're going to talk about that, because it's not just about making $1 million overnight or becoming a millionaire. As much as we see a lot of fucking noise online, we have to tone that back, and we got to really understand the core fundamentals. I like to say this in the stock market as well too, right? There's fundamentals and there's technicals. The fundamentals allow you to understand the numbers, and the technicals allow you to understand how to analyze previous data to predict what's going to happen in the future. So if we take that and we understand that with the wealth transfer, that is what we're going to go deeper into, but more from a psychological standpoint. I want to talk a little bit more about just, again, the pressure that we sometimes put on ourselves about these overnight fucking millionaires, and thinking that, yeah, if I plug in, if I do this, then if I get sold by him and I figure that, I'll be a millionaire too. Instead, understanding some of the components that could go wrong, some of the experiences that I have, that I've gone through myself in order to guide today's lesson. Because today is not only just a lesson, today's also transforming into a little bit of, first of all, introducing why we're even here. We're here because Lions, we're here on 3 core words, and we know what those words are: brotherhood, blessings, and breakthroughs. It's the brotherhood between men, when the only time you look down at another man is when you're picking him back up. The blessings from above, because God has a plan for each and every single line on this call and those that will watch. And of course, it's the breakthroughs. It may be something I say tonight. It may be something another Lion says, but be open to those breakthroughs. Put the fucking ego aside, because today we're going to talk a little bit about that word. Put the ego aside and be open. Get your notebook out. Start to take some thoughts. And it may not be things that I say. Think about it sometimes in your own mind when you're taking notes. Today, I was, just as a quick little example before I even get started, I was sitting down with JC over a lunch meeting, and we were talking, and I said to him, I was like, he's like, I'm trying to process my brain. He's like, my brain is going so fast. Have you ever been in that place where your brain is just going so fast? And he's like, I'm trying to write it down, but I can't even write fast enough. Like, my brain is thinking faster than I can even write. And I was like, whoa, chill for a second, take a breath. Just write words. Just write a word, look out the window, write another couple of words, look out the window, and give yourself a little bit of just time to breathe. Because that's what we don't do often, especially as men. We don't give ourselves the time to breathe. We're always in go, chase, always in providing and protecting mode, always wanting to do the best that we can do for everyone around us. And of course, even ourselves. When we can, when we have that bit of time, when we want to watch football, Super Bowl's coming. I had to make that football reference. There's JC. He's like, dude, football's coming. Yes, it is going to be Super Bowl weekend. But before I get started, guys, I wanted to kind of switch up gears, because usually I go into, giving a bit of a teach out, a bit of a lesson, some experience that I have, and share some stories that I have. But I want to switch this up, and I really want to give some market watch. I want to be able to tie in from last week And I want to be able to just jump in and looking into some of the markets from a macro perspective. There's some noise that's been going around. So what I want to do is I want to debunk some of that noise. And I want to just be able to share some knowledge. And I'm going to have JC come in actually, and share a couple of points that we've been understanding over the last week that's really helped us understand kind of where the markets are, what we're doing, and how we're positioning ourselves, again, correctly, like we talked about last week, positioning yourself correctly in the biggest wealth transfer that we will experience in our generation. It's a good view, right? But anyways, let's get back to this. I take full ownership on that. JC, you brought up a couple quick things, though, that I want to make a little point here on. DeepSeek, first of all, interesting concept. Again, a lot of noise. There's always a lot of noise. People rattle the cage. The governments are, the media, everyone's worse at it. Social media is even crazier now. Research. Take time to do research. That's a very good tip right there. Most of us don't take time. We listen to it, we watch it, we get on TikTok, we start swiping, and we're like, shit, we're experts. I'm an economist. I'm economist. I'm an economist because I saw him talk about this and interest rates are going there, and now I know what I'm talking about. No, you got to do the research, get into that tunnel, and always think long term. I love that one that you said, man. Donald Trump is always a long term thinker. He went from 4 years and then he had 4 years. That's actually almost, it was sucked because the country had to go to shit for it. But he actually positioned himself 4 years to take a break, to watch from the outside and come in stronger than ever. And that's what it takes sometimes, gentlemen. It takes sometimes the time to shut the fuck up, look down, just put your head down and go to work and come back up when it's time to go for it. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today, because as much as we talk about the markets, as much as we talk about this, look, you can think about it like, how does that affect me? Jay, how does this affect me? The other one could be like, how do I capitalize from it? Like, are you going to give me something that I can buy and I can make money from? Sure, we can talk about that. But more importantly, what I want to dive deep into tonight is the thought pattern and mindset that it comes when dealing with a transfer of wealth like this. When there's so much out there and so many guidance points and so many people telling you this is where money is going to be made and this is what's going to happen, instead of even talking about the money first, let's get the mind right for the money. Because if we start to understand taking a pause to just reflect, we can start with a very simple principle. A very simple principle. It comes from Stoicism, honestly. I always go back to Stoicism, but ego is my enemy. For those of you writing down notes, I want you to start off by writing, ego is my enemy. Not our enemy, not your enemy. Ego is my enemy, and underline my. Because what happens with us men is that we are to blame. We are to blame because we're born this way. We're conditioned this way. We're born and conditioned to provide and protect. So we instinctively already have this ego kind of mindset to be the man that I need to be, to provide and to protect, to be able to be the soldier, to be able to run the army, to be the king, to whatever extent that you place it. It's in our prowess. It's in our DNA. And when you start to understand that, you say, wait, but that's really good. But Jay, I don't want to be arrogant. I want to be confident. Well, that makes sense, but let's break that down. A friend of mine, I'll give you a quick little story. Starts with even something like this. A friend of mine got into a marriage, got married, and I'm saying this because I recently just got engaged, but he got married, but six months went by. 6 months, they get into an argument. Something goes by, boom, 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 boom. Regardless of the argument, they decide to cut the marriage. Now, what's interesting about that from that time frame perspective? Now, I know people out there have gone through divorces, and usually it takes more time. There's years that go by and things that you want to push through and the resilience that you have. But in such an instinctive moment of you wanting to cut a marriage that quickly, of being in the relationship, shows a lot. Doesn't really matter about the situation. But as a man, if you really are a man, you decided to propose. You decided to put a ring on the finger. You have to show commitment. You can't back out that quick. I'm not saying that, later on in life, if something happens and a couple of years go by and all of a sudden, the relationship doesn't work and you have to end it amicably, fair enough. But ultimately, if you're going to end it that quick, you are not committing to who the fuck you are as a man. You didn't think twice about when you were going to put the ring on. You just thought, I got into a fight and I'm fucking pissed off right now and she pissed me off and she needs to get the fuck out of my house now. Where does that stem from, gentlemen? It's ego, because ego is our killer. Ego is our enemy. Well, I want you to understand that even myself, I use myself as an example because I had the ring a year before I proposed. I had the ring a year before I proposed, but I waited a whole year to make sure that I was in the right position to commit right. And now it's on my finger. It's non-negotiable. There is no if and or but. There's no, my beautiful fiance. She made a post just this week, and it was incredible. And it was talking about not emotional resilience. See, I always talk about emotional resilience, but she was talking about conflict resilience. And conflict resilience means, how hard am I willing to stay here without breaking? And when I say breaking, I mean like breaking to the point of how long am I willing to actually endure the pain of a fight to understand how to have the resilience around it? Because most of us get so hot-headed with our ego as men, and we get very, regardless of if it's with a woman or it's another man. That's why when it's with another man, we just fight it out, right? We just beat the shit out of each other. We'll see who wins. It's a very commonality because that's how we grew up. That was the high school fight. Women are very different though, because they get a little bit like, very, very psychological when they fight, especially those high school days, man. That was some conniving stuff. Remember that stuff. But when we bring this back to the understanding of ego is the enemy. We got to really start to place ourselves in the environments that we place ourselves, whether it's at home with the spouse, whether it's out in public with the friends. A couple of days ago, I just went downstairs to go have a drink with and actually, sorry, I wasn't drinking. I was like, I want to go have a drink, but I'm not going to drink today. I'm not going to drink alcohol today, but I'm going to go down and I'm going to go have a non-alcoholic drink, right? Because I still like sitting at the bar. I still like doing my thing. Well, a couple of my buddies were there, and all of a sudden, Ric Flair and a couple of these guys are all there, and these guys are hardcore drinkers and everything like that. So I'm sitting there, and in that moment, I was just like, I kind of felt a little bit, I was like, shit, man, I'm going to be that guy to be like, can I get a non-alcoholic? But what was that? It was the judgment that I had of the people around me. It was the environment that I put myself into, but it was the ego of how I was going to look instead of doing what the fuck I wanted. Even though they're amazing people and they're very high profile people, right? And of course, when they say, let's have a shot. But I had a mindset that day to stay committed. But in that moment, I was like, I kind of felt a bit awkward. I was like, shit, I'm going to be that guy that's not drinking now. Like, it's not sure I'll have a non-alcoholic. But that was an egotistical mindset to myself, thinking to myself, like, why do I care? Why do I care? I got to be doing me, but I got to be doing that in my own lane, not thinking about that. And another example, like scaling your business. For many, many years, I was trying to scale my business and I was doing as much as I could. Real estate was going really well, but then I started scaling coaching and I was like, I got it. I know the next best thing. I know exactly how to do it. I'm going to position myself with this funnel and I'm going to do this offer and I'm going to do this instead of just listening to the experts that had already done it. Like there's already people that know how to do that 10 times better than you can. Why am I sitting here trying to recreate a wheel? I wasted so many years just trying to not listen to the right people because of the ego. So ego is one of those killers. And why I bring up ego is because understanding the biggest moments that happen in your life, some of the biggest downfalls, especially as us men, the adversities that we go through, the negativities that we go through, most of those are caused by ego. I would say the other half is caused by alcohol, but that's just me. Since the only time I've ever had stitches or really gotten into some serious trouble, like hardcore alcohol has been involved. But why do we make this decision as men to fuel our own egos sometimes? We want the confidence. We want to be that guy that walks into a room and everyone's like, wow, he's so, good looking and he's a decent gentleman and wow, he's got a beautiful wife and he's got this full picture that we kind of have seen in our minds. But instead, we should be starting to think about the man that gets up and looks at himself in the mirror. The man that gets up and gets himself to the fucking gym to train his body, because that's your duty. The man that goes above and beyond to open up a door for somebody that's going into the restaurant. A man that goes out and provides extra for his kids by not presents, not fucking more money and shit, but just taking some time to spend with them. Just, hey man, hey bud, let's just spend an hour together. That is letting the ego go. And that is such a freeing momentum when you start to understand ego, because now you might look at me and be like, okay, Jay, how does ego now tie into like the markets, right? Because of course I can see ego being like, okay, ego, I get it. But how does this tie back into like the markets and the biggest wealth transfer that's happening? Because ego, as JC mentioned, there's going to be a lot of millionaires created, not only just with the Donald Trump wave, not only with the crypto wave, not only with the AI wave, all of them going out at once is just even crazier. But ego is going to also kill empires. Ooh, ego is going to kill empires now. As many that are going to rise or as many that are going to fall. And ego is going to be the one crucial error that most of us men are going to make. We're not going to actually listen to our wife. We're not going to actually listen to somebody smarter than us. We're not going to actually take the time to do the research. We're not going to take the time to look at ourselves in the fucking mirror and be like, dude, you need to have some fucking waking up to do. I've done it multiple times where I've had to lock myself inside of a hotel room, look at myself and be like, you better fucking smarten up. Otherwise, God's going to take everything away from you. And you know it. And you can feel it. And then God broke my thumb and then did it twice. And then gave me a car accident where my neck is still herniated. Like, shit, there's some lessons to be learned along the way. Some heavy core, hardcore lessons. And the more that you get in tune with your spiritual side, the more that you start to understand that ego is one of the biggest killers that you can have in any religion, in any culture, in any society. But yet we do it every single day, and it's a disease. We choose it every single day as it's a disease. So think about that when we understand ego. And again, going back to this, ego breeds two words that will fuck you in the markets. They'll fuck you gambling. And JC, by the way, bringing up that story, that was a crazy story, man. $500. I took these guys into the casino. I was like, look, this is how you gamble. You take $500, whatever your limit is. I was like, I'm going to go in. I went straight to the high slots. I put all $500 into the machine. I was like, click, max bet, max bet, max bet, max bet. Lost all $500 right there. He looked at me. He's like, dude, I've never seen $500 just go down the drain that quickly. And I was like, perfect, let's get out. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, we're leaving the casino now. He's like, oh, interesting. Like normally in the situation, somebody be like, damn, man, I just lost $500. Watch this. I'm going to try to make it back. I'm going to make it back. Because the two words that get created out of ego is fear and greed. Fear and greed. Greed is the true byproduct of ego because I want more, I want more, I want more. I can have more, I can have more. And you get into consumption mode, which is not what God asked from us. And then on this side, the fear. The fear is an interesting one. The fear is one that I wanted to play around with a little bit more and give some more context on. Because the second thing that I wanted to talk about today was fear is my friend. I want you to write that down. Fear is my, remember, not ours, not yours, my friend. Now, what do I mean by that? There's only two fears that are known to the human body, to the subconscious level that can break us at a delta-like state. Delta is between 5 to 9 hertz of brain frequency. It's when we're dreaming. Up above that is the theta level, and then above that is alpha, and then beta is what we are in right now, conscious mode. And if you can get strategic and spiritual enough, you go to gamma, which is 25 hertz and above. But going back to delta, there's only two fears that can mentally break you out of delta state. It's the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. So when we understand that there's only two fears, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises, how the hell do we create all this other bullshit in our heads? Like, how do we, you know what my favorite one is? FOMO. Ever heard of that one before? The good old fear of missing out. The way that, you know, back in the day it was TV commercials. For those on the call that remember that it was just on TV and they used to sell us on TV. They'd be like, whoa, you know, this opportunity is going down in 10 minutes. Dial the phone number right here. Get this. Our operators are standing online. Boom. They're creating urgency. They're creating fear of missing out. Now we got it with people like this on videos going, hey, by the way, this opportunity only lasts for the first 500 people. This opportunity is only going to last for the next 20 days. And we're creating this sense of urgency being sold by really nothing. It's just marketing tactics to influence. And massive companies like McDonald's, Walmart, they have trained experts that are teaching them how to do that so that when you see the golden arches, you know, I already know the feeling. You're already smelling it. You're already smelling the fries. And they've already created a sensation inside of your subconscious where you're just right there. So back to the fear side of things, it's like, even that party that like they're like, that party's going to be there. Then you're like, fuck, man, I really shouldn't go to a party on Sunday night. Like, I get that it's Super Bowl and I get that it's crazy, but like Monday morning is a big day, right? If you're missing out, it could be in a party format, it could be at an event. I'm telling that to JC because JC told me, he's like, yo, dude, you know, it's going to be a late night. And I'm like, Nah, that's not big. I don't care. Y'all Americans are too crazy with your football, man. You know who's gonna win. Everyone knows who's gonna win. I'm not gonna say that till the end, but we'll see how that happens. But fear, going back to fear. Now, when we look at fear like missing a party, it's one thing. When we look at fear like missing the game, it's one thing. But what about the other fear? What about the real fucking fear that us men feel? What about the fear of not being able to provide for your family? Not to be able to put food on the table? What about the fear of losing all your money? Everything that you've worked your entire life for? What about that fear? Now, that shit's pretty real, isn't it? That shit's pretty real. And every single man on this call has gone through that fear at some capacity in his life. And I know that. So when we start to understand fear, and fear understanding that this FOMO mindset of shiny object syndrome is us to understand that that's okay, as long as we can understand that that's there. I'm the ultimate buyer, guys. I've bought every single program. I've hired every single coach. I've done so much in the last 10 years of my life. I was always on the buying side. So I've built resiliency on knowing that shit is going to fail. You're going to buy a product, it's going to fail. You're going to buy a product, it's going to fail. You're going to buy something, it's going to fail. Failure forward. John Maxwell always talks about this. Fail forward. But not everybody has the privilege to do that. Not everyone has the time capacity or even the wherewithal to be able to just fail. So that's why you have to expedite that curve and understand that there's a lot of shady people selling a lot of fucking dreams. It's okay. It's okay. Let them be shady and let them screw around. But you have to be calculated. You have to do the research. You have to understand who and what you're getting involved with. And that fear comes down to channeling it. Now, here's the key. Now, here's the tactic. Here's something that you can take to actually be able to channel your fear now. Because we get into fearful situations every single day based on different outcomes and situations that we're placed in, whether it's any one that I just named. But how do you channel that fear? How do you actually understand, well, I told you fear is my friend. The word friend. Now, for those of you that have friends, how do you treat your friend? You treat your friend good. You treat your friend nice. You're respectful. You're honorable. The second part of that is, do you want to ever lose a good friend? Would that be anything that you'd want? If you have a really good friend in your life, would you ever want to lose them? So why do we do this with fear? Why do we say when fear comes up and something hits, I got to just repel it. I got to push it away. I got to cycle it through. I got to keep cycling it through because I'll get over it. I'll keep pushing for it. I'm a fucking man. I'll push right through this. I'll just cycle right through. Don't worry about the fear. I'm not fearful. I'll keep pushing. And then see, look, my ego. You can already feel my chest getting bigger. See my ego? Because now I'm already starting to push my own thought patterns towards that. And I'm cycling it. Instead of saying to myself, how do I learn from it? How do I learn from my friend? How do I grow from my friend? Some badass motherfucking friend sometimes. That's some bullshit to me. Gets my mind all twisted, but friends piss you off sometimes. That's okay. But you don't want to lose them and you still want to honor them. So if you can apply fear to be your friend, it allows you to actually want to work with fear, want to embrace fear, want to actually put your shoulders down instead of being like, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? Look, I'm fucking negative this in my bank account. I got this going on. How am I going to recover? You're already in that scarcity mindset. We got to peel that back down. We got to get to that abundance even without it. We got to push that forward. You see, in this world that we live in, when we cycle it, when we keep cycling it, us men are so freaking prone to this. I'm telling you, we bottle our shit up. We bottle. I'm good at it. I'll just bury it over here. I don't have to worry about that shit. I'll watch football game, drink my beer, chill out. But the problem of bottling it is, you know what happens eventually. It pops. And that usually gets out into lashing out. That gets out into anger. That gets out into alcohol and doing things that, we're not designed to do. We don't want to do them. And then we regret it in the morning. And then we're like, I shouldn't have yelled at her. And I shouldn't have said that. And blah, 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 blah. And all these regrets come afterwards. And then the regrets defeat our emotions even more. We defeat the confidence level that all we wanted was confidence. Even though we led the whole track by ego, all we wanted in the end was just to be a confident man that can just provide and protect. Like, it's very simple. So when we can understand this, gentlemen, you know, even just when I look at this, like I think about my life, I'm just sitting here and I'm just thinking about like, there's so many experiences that fear held me back. Like when I was 17, sitting in a jail cell, fear based, sitting there. What the fuck am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? 19, I started my first business. It's like, holy woo, this is scary. Started tapping into the markets. First trade, scary. Started getting involved with mentors. Oh, wow, I got to spend money in order to find somebody to teach me. I had to spend $10,000 to work with Richard Dolan. I was 21 years old, 22 years old at the time. Like 10,000, I'm like, $10,000. I have to like swipe some credit cards, but I pulled it off. That was a scary moment. 24, writing my first $1 million deal. I was like, what if I mess up? What if I mess up and I lose money, which I did in actually a huge multi-million-dollar deal. I lost 150,000. Some of you know that story. Just because of my ego, I got too excited to chill on the weekend instead of closing some paperwork. And then he came back Monday with a cash offer from 3.1 million. He went to 2.95. And what did I do? I just signed it. I lost $150,000 because of ego. So when we know that ego is our enemy, ego is my enemy, and fear is my friend. Now, let's get this to now reality. Let's get this onto a decision that has to be made today, right now, as every man watches this. Trust yourself and take risk. That's the third point. Trust yourself and take risk. You cannot take risk first, because then that ends up in disasters, a lot of learning lessons, costs a lot of money, takes 10 years. Trust me, been there, done that. But if you can trust yourself first, it doesn't matter what risk you take, because you'll always trust yourself. You'll trust the fact that you made a logical decision at that time and you won't have any regrets around it, and you'll make that risk. Now, all of us have a different risk tolerance, right? Everyone has a different risk profile. You know, I love how JC said it actually, and I was going to comment on this because it's that normal like gambling, drinking kind of thing, right? Have a limit, stay within it. Right? It's a very simple sentence, like have a limit, stay within it. Like very simple. That's helped people save marriages. That line has helped people not throw all their money into gambling. That line has stopped alcoholics from doing the craziest things. Just that line, have a limit, stay within it. So we take that same principle and we apply it to risk now. And we say, okay, we have a limit, we stay within it. Awesome. Just like my casino example, right? Have a limit, stay within it. But we cannot take the risk until we can trust ourselves. This time, when you start to think about trust, I want you to break trust down into 3 simple components. Trust, the word trust, trustworthy, is broken down into 3 words. It's broken into reliability, dependability, and ability. 3 abilities. The first one is reliability. Now, I'm going to just give a quick little example, like hiring a babysitter for your kids. I always like to use this one. You're hiring a babysitter for your kids. Is the babysitter going to be reliable? The reliability. Reliability means, will she show up on time? If I tell her to be here at 8 o'clock because I got to go to a dinner with my wife, is she going to be here at 7:55? She's going to be here 5 minutes before. That's reliability. She'll show up on time. Okay. Dependability now is a little bit different. Dependability now is doing the right thing. Like if I leave my kid with this babysitter and I'm out to dinner with my wife, is this babysitter going to hear the baby cry and run to the room and make sure the baby's okay? Or is this babysitter going to be like, oh, just hold on, let me just make this one quick call, finish this quick text, the baby will be fine, everything will be fine. That's dependability now. That is now understanding the right thing, doing the right thing. And lastly is the ability part. The ability part is just simply the skill set. It's simply the skill set. Does this babysitter have the physical capability of holding the baby, feeding the baby, taking care of the baby? Does the babysitter have the physical ability? So when we take ability, we take dependability, we take reliability, and we mesh those all together, that is how we can measure trust. So I want you to truly understand that for yourself first. Because most of us might even just be thinking like, shit, I gotta question some people in my world right now. I'm gonna question my friends and family right now. Are they reliable? Are they dependable? Do they have the ability? But before you point at anybody else, always remember 3 of these are pointing back at you. So if we can take those 3 and we can apply to myself, am I reliable to myself? If I'm telling myself I'm going to wake up and go to the gym, if I tell myself I'm going to wake up at 3:55, if I tell myself that I'm going to show up there, am I going to show up for myself? Not anybody else. Not showing up for a meeting with somebody else. No. Am I showing up for myself when nobody's watching? That's key. Dependability now. Can I depend on myself? Can I depend on myself to do the right thing? You know, integrity's true definition is doing something when nobody's watching. That's the way I like to view it. So what do you do when nobody's watching? Are you doing the right thing? I'll give you an example. I was walking out of a public restroom in the airport, actually. Funny enough. I go and I'm like, just finished up my business, wash my hands, grab my paper towel thing. I go over like Kobe Bryant style, right? Oh, I missed. I didn't get it. I didn't get it in the bin. Now, in that moment, nobody was in the bathroom. Am I going to do the right thing? Am I going to go pick it up and actually put it in? Or I'm going to be like, just walk out? The dependability on yourself is probably one of the hardest one is meant. Reliability is like, dude, I got discipline, bro. I show up to the gym. I show up to meetings on time. I'm pretty good. Reliability is key. But dependability, I want you to ask your guys' self, am I dependable on myself? Can I depend on myself to do the right thing in every case scenario? In every case scenario, I'm going to do the right thing. Not for profit, not for what I think, not for just the right thing, doing the right thing. And the last one, ability. Do I have the ability? This is where most of us will crush ourselves. This is where imposter syndrome kicks in. This is where, hey, I'm good, but I'm working to be great. I'm good, but I don't think I'm great yet. I'm good, but trust me, I'm almost there. I'm working on it. I'm right there. Like, I'm with you, man. But still doubting ourselves. So this week, I want you guys to truly be able to go and do self-reflection. As the lions that you are, do self-reflection on yourself to understand how dependable am I, how reliable am I, and how able am I to myself first before I go out there and try to provide and protect for everybody else. And that brings an exclusive that I want to actually just now change conversation on is this. Lions Den is now changing and you guys can feel it already. I want to bring more value to you guys in such a more significant way. I love being able to teach. I love being able to preach. I love being able to give you guys some golden rules like I have tonight. But more importantly, I want you guys to have a voice. I want you guys to be able to chime in. So I want to open it up to Q&A in a second here. And I want you guys to be able to actually view your thoughts, something that resonated well with you, a comment, a question that you have. But also, I want you guys to understand this transfer of wealth is happening. Today, I came in with some more psychological knowledge because I want you guys to understand that there is a foundation you have to build before you start to go and scale to the multi-millions of dollars, multi-billion now in this world. You have to have the mindset and the foundation correct. And that's where I'm stemming from my conversation today. Outside of this, you're going to start to see the shift and the change of each week where we're going to introduce more market knowledge, more opportunities, more different things. I have an incredible product that's coming out to the market, but I'm not here to sell a product to you guys on the Lions Den call. I'm here to provide value and for you to feel comfortable and understand that you're a part of other lions that want to scale and grow. And the more that belief system gets ingrained, the more that we will do crazy things together. We'll do some business deals together. We'll show you incredible products that you want to invest in. But until then, it's about us connecting as the brothers that we are to represent the right way. So JC, I'm going to bring you in though, just for the guys that do want to know how to connect, just put a quick link in that they can just book a simple call with us. We can jump on a call. Great. Get to know you a little bit more. And then we're going to close this out because I want to hear from some of you guys. I see some men stirring in their minds right now. They're thinking, they're like, holy shit, that was a lot, Jay. That was a lot. There's ego in here. There's fear in there. There's everything. And of course, it all ties down to the markets because you can't have that baseline thought pattern and brain. I could give you 10 million today. You would be negative 10 million tomorrow. It wouldn't make sense. But the more you condition yourself and you build this fucking lion that wants to roar, that chiseling away every single day. You know, in the Masons, I'll leave you with this. In the Masons, they talk about this, that every man is a shriveled block. A little block, you know, like the whole bricks, a shriveled one. And each day, all you do is you just try to smoothen the edges. You're never going to be a perfect block, but each day you work as hard as you possibly can to just smooth out another edge, to get a little bit smoother, just a little bit smoother. I'm going to close this out, guys. I'm going to close this out. But before I do, I just want to share one thing. What Rico just shared is something so powerful. He said, oh, I'm just going to bring in the ego. That wasn't ego. That's called sharing a win. It's okay to share wins, gentlemen. On this call, it's okay to share wins. I want you guys to be able to utilize this call the right way. I want you to be able to share a win. I want you to be able to ask a question. I want you to be able to comment the right way. Without further ado, I am going to close this out in a beautiful celebration today. Lions, thank you. Thank you for showing up here every single week, Thursday at 8 p.m. I cannot wait to see y'all next week, 8 p.m. on the Lions Den, as you can see. Take care, gentlemen. I'll see you next week.